Hello, I'm Brad Geddes, the founder of Certified Knowledge and the author of Advanced Google AdWords. In this lesson, we're going to look at how to identify quality score problems within your AdWords account so that you can find the places where you have the best opportunity from both a monetary standpoint and a visibility standpoint to increase your quality score across your account. So the first thing we need to do is log into our AdWords account and navigate to our Keywords tab. Now what happens is when you're just looking at all keywords, you may see both search keywords and display keywords. Display keywords don't have any quality scores. So what you want to do first is segment out what you're looking at before we drill into the data itself. And of course, we also need to make sure the correct columns are being displayed as well. So we're going to first look at customizing columns and then filtering out just your search information. So go to Columns, Customize Columns, and then under Attributes, there's Quality Score. Make sure you include Quality Score as well as Impressions and Cost. You can also include First Page Bid if you want to, which we'll talk about a bit later in a tool that we also have that can use this number to give you some more insights. So once you've added your columns, go ahead and save them. Now next, because we're seeing display and stuff that's paused or zero, we want to go in and filter our information. So first, we want to filter by quality score is at least 1. Because display items don't have quality score, this will remove all of our 0 or non-applicable quality score data. So next, we may have some keywords which are paused or not being displayed right now for various reasons, which we might not want to include. For most individuals, this is a good filter. If you're a little more advanced, you might realize that you want to leave some of your paused items because you want to also include that in the data. So if we just add another filter, then we can choose is status and say we don't want stuff that's not eligible to run or it's not triggering ads because something's disapproved, etc. So these are optional whether you leave them in or remove them. If you're only working on active items, then remove them. If you're working across the entire account and you're looking backwards in time at some information, then go ahead and include them. Now let's go ahead and apply this filter as well. And now we should only be seeing keywords which are both active and have quality scores. When you're done with your filter, don't hit close. That will close the filter. Hit the little minus box, and that way it'll leave the filter as it is. Now what we don't want to do is look through all these keywords in an account to try to figure out where we have pockets of opportunity. There's a lot of stuff we can look at from keywords that are 1. We could also sort from keywords that are 10 or lower, etc. This is way too much work within the interface. There's a much better way of handling this data and looking at it at a broader scale. So once you have this information saved, then go ahead and download the information. So we'll download this report into an Excel file for CSV. We're going to manipulate it in Excel. So we want to make sure we get at least a CSV file or an Excel CSV file. So go ahead and then create this report. And then we'll look at how to manipulate it to find best areas of opportunity. So now what I have in front of me is a keyword report. Now, as most advertisers don't wish their keywords and stats displayed for the world to see, I've exemplified this some where you'll see ad groups that are stuff or ad groups that are examples, etc. The data is real, just the campaign names and ad group names are not real. So the next part is, again, we don't want to look through thousands of keywords. So this is where pivot tables can be really useful in looking at quality scores. So I'm going to walk through a few different ways of using pivot tables to look at the account overall and to find areas of opportunity. So first off, pivot tables are really simple to work with. I'm going to select all the data in the sheet, just click the corner icon, go to the Insert tab, hit Pivot Table, and Insert Pivot Table. Excel is going to ask just to verify the data source, and then we have a pivot table to work with. So with pivot tables, there's a lot of ways you can manipulate them. First off, by default, pivot tables are usually listed in a section area. I find it easier to be able to see all your states as well as your filters and labels by just switching the layout of the pivot table. So first off, the first thing we really want to know is the account in good shape or not? This goes more to looking at the account as a whole and determining, does it really need a lot of quality score work? Is it in good shape? How many risks can you take, etc.? So with quality score, there's a lot of ways you can look at it. Now, unfortunately, what happens a lot of times is people look at quality score and then they look at how many keywords are in each quality score area. And then they decide, hey, this is how good the account is. Now, there's a problem with this sort of analysis. It's the fact that Google doesn't care about number of keywords so much by quality score because they don't make money by keyword. They make money by impression. That's what matters most to them, is what is our ECPM, our estimated cost per thousand impressions. So while you could look at quality scores by keyword range, this isn't really the way to figure out how good your account is. What you really want to see instead is how many impressions you have at each quality score range. So we can change this to sum of impressions, and now we can see how our impressions look by quality score range. So the easy way to really look at this is the percentage of QS at each range. So this is a simple formula of equals sum the number of impressions, and with pivot tables, if you click into it like you normally would build an Excel file, you get crazy stuff like get pivot table data and some harder things to work with on a formula basis. So it's usually best just to go ahead and type in the cell number of the data you want. So we have sum of impressions divided by the total number of impressions, which is our C13 cell. Since we want to drag this down the whole way, if you use a $sign in front of the cell numbers, then it becomes an absolute. So to make this a little bit easier to read, let's just make this a percentage column. And now we can look and see that overall, 40% of our impressions are to quality score 5, 16% are at quality score 6. That means we have 56% below 7. A very healthy account is roughly 70% of impressions of a 7 or higher. So when you have a healthy account, you can take some more risks with broader keywords, so forth. And when you see most of your keywords are at 7s and 10s, then quality score, it's important still to look at, but you shouldn't obsess over it. Now, when we see that 56% of our impressions are below a 7, we really need to work on the quality score and fix it. So this is the first way of using a pivot table, just looking at how healthy an account is. So now once we determine how healthy an account is, next we want to find out exactly where we should be working within the account to increase quality score. So I'm going to go back to our data sheet for a second and just make another pivot table. So I'm going to go to Insert, Pivot Table, select our data. So what I really want to know is not just how many impressions by keyword or what ad groups have low keywords, but where do we have the biggest spend opportunity? This is first place to look at. So if we look at our ad group and then we look at its cost data, and we also look at its quality score. So what we really want to see is not just count of cost. That's how many rows would exist. We want to see sum of cost, and then we want to see average of quality score. So let me make this a little bigger to read. So now what we want to see, let's make this a little easier to read as well. So what I want to look for is places where we have high spends and low quality scores. So you have an ad group that spent, $444,000 and has a 7.4 quality score. That's in pretty good shape. If we see other ad groups that have spent $98,000, they've got 6s. That needs a little more help. And so we can then start to look through to see where do we have lower quality scores and high spends. Now, there is one inherent problem here, is that's that averages lie. We're looking at an average of quality score. So let's say that we have 2 keywords in an ad group. So let's say we have 2 keywords in an ad group. We have keyword 1 and keyword 2. And let's say that this keyword has 10,000 impressions and this keyword has 1. And this keyword is a 4 quality score and this one's a 10. On average, this looks like it's a 7 quality score for the ad group, assuming only these 2 keywords were in the ad group. In reality, from a weighted quality score range, it really would be a 4.0001. That's why averages lie. So there is a way to sort of fix these averages within your pivot tables as well. So we're going to go back to our keyword source data, and we're going to make another column. And this is just going to be quality score times impressions for every keyword. So this is a simple thing to run, equals sum of quality score times number of impressions. And let's go ahead and sum that for every single keyword in the group. So now we're going to go back to our pivot table. So what we don't have, though, is this new column in our pivot table. So we could make a new pivot table. You could start from scratch, or we can go to pivot table, change data sources, select all of my columns, including my new column here. And now I have my quality score times impressions. So then what I want to do with my quality score times impressions is include that on a sum level, so every single one. And I also want to include my impression data as well. And again, I want to include my impression data at sum. So now what we're really trying to do is get a weighted quality score. And this is pretty simple. It's just a simple formula of sum of the quality score times impressions, so E4, divided by number of impressions, so D4. And again, write the formulas instead of clicking into the cells with pivot tables. And now what we can do is we can just drag this out and we can look at the difference in quality scores normalized. This is an average quality score. This is a normalized quality score. So if we hide these columns and look at the difference, we'll probably see some hidden problems in here. This ad group isn't really an 8.26. It's a 9.8. This ad group that spent $98,000 isn't really a 6. It's a 5. That's probably our first place to start looking at quality scores. And so if you're overall you have 1 keyword per ad group, or your keywords have very similar statistics within an ad group, then you don't have to normalize this. However, if your keywords have a variety of metrics within an ad group, then normalize it and then look for places where you have low quality scores and high spends. Now, if you only have a handful of ad groups, that's a very easy way of handling quality score from an initial standpoint. There's still another analysis we need to do in a moment. But if you have thousands of ad groups or even hundreds of ad groups, there's a simpler way of doing this as well, where we have a quality score analyzer tool, which you can upload your keyword reports to. And then what the tool will do is go ahead and do all the math that I just ran through, and it will also put them in a priority order based upon spend and quality score. So if you're looking for a simpler way of handling things, this tool, part of the Certified Knowledge Toolset, will help you out a lot from a quality score standpoint as well. Now, this is a good way of doing it, whether it's pivot tables or the tool, from finding where to optimize spend. But what it doesn't tell you are places where you don't have a lot of impressions because your quality scores are too low. So I'm just going to make another pivot table again. And so create another pivot table. And what I really want to know is by ad group name, how many times, how many keywords are in each ad group where the quality score is below 4 or 4 or below. So with report filters in quality score, right now I have number of keywords by ad group. I can say I only really want to see where I have keywords that are 4 or less in an ad group and how many keywords are in each one of those ad groups. So right here, we have one ad group, stuff, that has 48 keywords of a 4 or lower. So this is a place where you want to go to look at the ad groups in close detail to see where are we just not displaying it all because we have low quality scores. And so then with these two pivot tables, one that looks at number of keywords by ad group with quality scores below 4, and another one that looks at our ad group by how much we spent and a normalized quality score. This will give us the identification of the ad groups, where now we need to go into the ad group, look at what the problem is, start analyzing it from a quality score basis, so we can change things, whether it's landing pages, ad copy, account organization. There's a lot of different steps you can take to increase quality score. Using just simple pivot tables or simple tools with keyword reports will help you identify exactly where you need quality score help inside your account, so that over time you can run a simple report like this one that just shows you percentage of keywords by quality score range, so that you can make sure you're increasing them, and so that hopefully within a couple months we don't see 56% of our keywords in a quality score 5 or 6 range. We're seeing 70-80% of our keywords at a quality score 7 or higher. So step 1 is identification. Next step then to really work through is how to increase quality scores once you've identified the areas that do need improvement. And if you need more help in learning how to increase quality scores and working with quality scores, among many other things, then feel free to check out our site at certifiedknowledge.org, where we have a lot of lessons and tools that will help you increase the profits of your AdWords account over time.